After 2 long years of silence from Aonuma and the Zelda team, we finally have details about the sequel to Breath of the Wild. Islands in the sky, time manipulation, Zelda falls down a pit, Link gets a flamethrower, Malice eats Link's arm, Dragon Golem, robotic gauntlet. There's quite a bit to take in. And yet, there's also a lot that we don't know. We don't even have a title! Here he goes again. I'm sorry, but it's a very big deal for me. Honestly, I don't blame some fans for wanting a little more revealed after 2 years of waiting. This E3 had the potential to be an info dump on par with E3 2016, or at least half of that, but instead we got another teaser trailer. Of course, COVID-19 hasn't done the gaming industry any favors, so the short trailer is understandable. Also, this is Zelda we are talking about. Zelda and delays go hand in hand. That being said, what Nintendo showed off is more than enough to get the imagination and theory gears rolling for this sequel. From gameplay to story, I think there are a good amount of secrets hidden within. Granted, there are already hundreds of videos out there that might have already covered it. In fact, I might be the last channel out there to get their analysis posted. What can I say? I take my time. Regardless, let's take our first ever sequel to Breath of the Wild deep dive, where we analyze and theorize everything the trailer has to offer. However, instead of going through the trailer frame by frame, I've done the dirty work beforehand. That way we can get to the good stuff. So get your diving gear ready. We're going deep. Obviously, the focus of the recent trailer is the hero Link, who goes from polite, respectable boy to wild man in the course of 30 seconds. His hair is longer, less well-groomed, nails grown to be more like claws. His right arm is practically charred black. Link nearly died 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, but Link in this sequel looks like he's climbing straight out of the gates of death itself. So what happened to the hero? Well, Malice is one heck of a drug. As Link is holding the Master Sword, probably in defense, the red and black squiggly tentacles, what I'm assuming is extra strength Malice, sneaks up on him and takes his arm. I'm a little disappointed Link didn't perfect dodge the Malice attack, but it must have been too dark to see. Regardless, Link seems to be in pain as the Malice climbs up his arm. Later on in the trailer, we get a good look at his right arm after being attacked by the Malice, blackened from his fingers all the way up to the shoulder. Higher up the arm, we see lines that could indicate stray tentacles. This cursed arm concept reminds me of the Studio Ghibli film Princess Mononoke, where the main character Ashitaka's arm is devoured by the corruption of a demon, leaving a curse mark that gives him supernatural strength, but also slowly begins to take over his body. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. Actually, there are many similarities between Breath of the Wild and Princess Mononoke, dating all the way to the first reveal of Breath of the Wild. But honestly, it's kinda surprising these comparisons would continue even with the sequel. So, does this curse give Link more inhuman strength that he already had before? Not exactly, or at least I don't think so. In the 2019 trailer, we see Link receive the glowy hand power-up to his right hand, the same hand that is cursed. He's removed his armor and any sort of clothing up to the elbow. What if this moment happens after the Malice curses Link's arm? He does seem to be in pain, or at least a bit overwhelmed as he takes in this new power. And if we zoom and use a bit of our imagination, we might be able to see a hint of the curse mark on his arm. Now, you're just seeing things. Well, that is what my doctor says. It's possible the green light is covering most of the mark. The proof being this shot showing off the magic-filled gauntlet. The arm is completely green, except for the shoulder. The problem with this theory is we still see the Master Sword on Link's back. I imagine he would have dropped or even lost the sword when the Malice attacked, although it's possible he sheathed the sword in between. Another possibility is the order of events in reverse. Link gets the green magic hand, then the Malice attacks. He loses the Master Sword, requires healing, and is transferred to a hospital in the sky. Because why not? Hey, it's the best rated hospital in Hyrule! Perhaps the Malice recognized the green light as a threat, so it attacked Link's hand. It makes sense it would want to destroy the magic that imprisoned Ganondorf for thousands of years. That said, if the only reason Ganondorf wakes up is because Link couldn't help but touch the shiny hand, maybe he deserves to lose his right arm. Don't touch things! No touchy! No matter when Link gets the curse, whether before or after the hand, he eventually needs major healing that supposedly takes months. Granted, he just woke up from a 100-year nap. A few more months of rest is child's play. So who transports him to the Sky Hospital? Or a mechanic garage may be more applicable. Because whoever takes him to where I assume is the Sky must have put the gauntlet on him. I have some half-baked thoughts about who this person could be, but I'll save that for later. More importantly, why the need for the gauntlet? Does it control the magic? Aid in the healing process? Is Link's right arm useless without it? It's not quite clear. What I can say is that it somehow harnesses the power of the green magic, as we see the greenish blue light swirling inside it. It's also important to note that the glowy hand holding dehydrated Ganondorf does not have the same gauntlet as Link, albeit similar. Unless the design changes over time, Link's hand and the hand on Ganondorf are most likely not the same. Take that, time travel theorists! This isn't over yet! Eventually, Link's medical insurance runs out and he's kicked out of the recovery room, free to explore the islands dotting the sky. Hope you brought your glider, cause out you go! This freefall dive is reminiscent of Link running out of the Shrine of Resurrection, leading to one of the most memorable and scenic moments in gaming. So that said, could this falling from the sky scene be Breath of the Wild 2's equivalent to this moment? Imagine Link waking up naked and alone with a new right arm. He spots a terminal, activates it. The door opens to reveal new Greek clothing that happens to be just his size. At this point, Link is experiencing a severe case of deja vu. He opens another door that floods the room with light. As he dashes out of the familiar cave, the first thing he sees is not the grand splendor of Hyrule Castle, but rather an endless blue sky dotted with white clouds. A voice compels him to jump to the island below, and so starts Link's new adventure. Wouldn't that be a great way to start off the game? A callback to the first, but also taking it in a new direction. This would also imply that these islands are actually the tutorial area for the game, equivalent to the Great Plateau. Of course, I can't say for sure this is how the opening of the game will go down, but there is one clue in the trailer that hints at this familiar beginning. Link is once again naked, all the way down to his boxer briefs. Combined with the fact that it looks like the gauntlet was just put on him, it's highly likely we will have another Shrine of Resurrection moment. Granted, I can't confirm this falling from the sky scene occurs right after Link's awakening. It could just be a moment taken out of context. Perhaps there is a new Great Plateau area where Link learns to use his newfound abilities, and then he's allowed to jump off and explore other islands. However, wouldn't it be neat if these islands happen to be this game's Great Plateau? Eventually, Link does return to the surface with his upgraded champion's outfit from the 2019 trailer, except now with the gauntlet and the new powers it brings. However, we don't see the islands in the sky anymore. Did they disappear? Are they hidden behind a cloak of magic? Am I completely wrong about the order of events? Absolutely no clue. Best not to dwell on it. I can't help but wonder what Link's end goal is with exploring the islands and eventually the surface again. Perhaps the islands unlock magic powers within Link's right arm, powers that he needs to take a new threat on the surface, Ganondorf. Maybe he needs them to explore dungeons, but that could just be wishful thinking. The big question is why this is all happening. Why is Link falling from the sky? Why is Hyrule Castle rising from the ground? What is the end goal? Why are we playing this game? Because it'll be fun? That's not good enough, dang it! I need answers! I can't say for sure what the point of all this is quite yet, as Nintendo seems to be holding that secret close to their chest. Patience, dear fanboy, patience. But I think it's safe to say Zelda and Ganondorf will play a huge role in the narrative. Or at least Ganondorf. Zelda, on the other hand... Okay, any questions about the story before we rehearse? Zelda? Let me get this straight. I cut my hair, explore a dark cave, discover a dehydrated Ganondorf, then fall down a bottomless pit. Never to be seen again. Yep, pretty great, huh? Pretty great? This is even less screen time than the last game. Well, you know what they say. Less is more. Just make the best of it. Unbelievable. I'm calling my agent. Impa! Whew, what a drama queen. Or should I say, drama princess. Oh man. I'm too funny. Whew. At least you're easy to please, Link. Hut! No, for the 1000th time, you cannot have a robotic guardian eye. Granted, myself and the entire internet might be overreacting to Zelda falling down the dark pit. Heh. Maybe she's only trapped for a short time. Or we see what happens to her immediately afterwards, and her role ends up being much more than princess locked in a tower. But the 2 trailers we have doesn't give us much hope. As for our zombie friend Ganondorf, well, he doesn't make much of an appearance in this year's trailer, other than spoopedly rising up. But there are a couple details on his pruny body that I want to point out. Below his ribcage, upper abdomen area, we see 4 holes in the body. What's up with that? The glowy hand from the 2019 trailer grips his lower sternum, right above the 4 holes as we see here. So unless there was more to trapping Ganondorf than just the hand with the iron grip, the holes must be something unrelated. Was this a wound given to Ganondorf long ago, maybe from a previous reincarnation of Link? We can also see a hole on his left wrist and palm, but nothing on the right hand. Most peculiar. Could these holes just be part of Ganondorf's mummification, and the body naturally developed these holes? Hard to say one way or the other. Maybe they were just a type of Gerudo body piercing. Ganondorf himself is still a mystery. I mean, heck, we're even just assuming this is Ganondorf. What if it's the former Gerudo King Frank, who has horrifying molten lava eyes, but in reality is a softie who donates all his money to local charities? But the chances of that happening are close to none, so it's safe to assume this is the infamous Demon King. One day your story will be told, Frank. One day. Anyway, assuming this is Ganondorf, we still don't know his objective. Obviously to get his revenge and take over Hyrule. But how will he do it? Will he slowly regain his hydrated flesh as he regains power? Does he kidnap Zelda to power that regeneration? Or does he want her out of the picture? And what is the point of raising the castle? Is it slowly rising up into the sky? Is he trying to create his own Laputa? Another great Ghibli film I highly recommend, otherwise known as Castle in the Sky. Unfortunately, we can't answer all these questions now, but it's important to keep in mind as we wait for Nintendo to release more info. I just hope they don't lock Zelda in a tower again. With new powers comes new game mechanics. I think Spider-Man said that or something. Anywho, Link seems to have a new arsenal of powers at his disposal in Breath of the Wild 2, despite theoretically losing his right arm. Harnessing the gauntlet and glowy magic, he can apparently rewind time and phase through objects. Let's look at those powers individually. First, rewind time. As Link looks to murder, handle this enemy camp, a giant spiky metal ball comes rolling down the hill, or mountain. Normally, Link would use magnesis, or status, to stop the object in its tracks, but instead, he stops time for the ball and rewinds its motion. We can see the path it took indicated by the yellow shadows, and that once released, the ball follows the path perfectly, ignoring the game's physics besides plowing down anything in its way. Interesting to note, Link's right hand seems to glow yellow as he activates the power. Looking closer, the yellow light seems to be in the shape of the gauntlet, meaning the blue-green light flowing through it changes to yellow. Could the magic change color when activating certain spells? The Sheikah Slate acted similarly when using different runes, so it wouldn't be shocking if the magic has a few different spells up its sleeve. As I predicted in my E3 prediction video, that's kind of redundant, the 2021 trailer implies that Link no longer has the Sheikah Slate with him, and that his new right arm acts as its replacement, featuring a new lineup of runes, or in this case, spells. Now, does this mean bombs are entirely out of the question? Well, it depends. Perhaps later on in the game, Link recovers his lost Sheikah Slate, and is able to use the slate and magic at will. Or maybe Link learns a spell that is similar to the bomb rune, making the slate unneeded. Since we can't prove it one way or another right now, it's just something to keep in mind. Another instance of time rewinding is the water droplet here. Instead of obeying the rules of gravity like a good little water drop, the droplet flows upwards as if returning to its origin. If you look closely at the drop, you can see blue-green magic shining in it. Or at least I think so. It could just be a lighting effect. But if this is magic, is there a spell that reverses the flow of water? Or is this the same spell as the spiky ball? The magic color within the water seems to be different, so I'm inclined to think it's a different spell. Interestingly, this water droplet scene almost looks like a cutscene based on the camera angle and how close to the subject the scene is. But why would a puddle be in a cutscene? Other than some cool special effects, maybe this serves as a tutorial for Link, and we'll get cutscenes that teach Link new spells. Then again, the grass in the background doesn't quite match the grass from the floating islands. Unless Link finds spells on the surface, this may not be spell related. However, the trailer transitions from the water drop scene to Link phasing through the ground as if it's liquid, potentially implying the two scenes are connected, but that remains to be seen. Focusing on that scene, as Link does an Olympian dive upwards, perfect form, the magic swirls around him and his right arm brightly glows the same blue-green. As he pops out of the top, we can see ripples as if the ground has turned into water, further potentially connecting the power to the water droplet. So, does this magic turn anything above Link into liquid? Can this only happen in certain places? Or is it a spell like the Time Rewind? If it's in line with the first game's open gameplay, then the power should work anywhere, but that almost seems kind of broken, especially on the surface. Whatever it turns out to be, I'm excited for such a unique ability that could really mix up the gameplay. There's one more example of magic in the trailer that I want to briefly touch on, the Flamethrower Dragon. The dragon head attached to Link's shield spews a long range of flames at this enemy that reminds me of a like. The creature seems to be protecting or guarding something behind it, but that could just be ruins for aesthetic reasons. Still, this cave area does make me wonder if we'll get hidden caves or even dungeons in the next game. If the latter, hopefully there will be more themes than dark, damp caves as we see here. Returning to the dragon head, before it spits fire and after, we see the blue-green magic glow coming from the mouth and eyes, implying the head is powered by magic. So if this shield attachment is powered by magic, are there other items, shield attachments or not, that are magic powered? And could they be tied to specific dungeons, like how dungeons in past Zelda games were designed with special items in mind? I don't know if I expect them to go that far in terms of dungeon design, but at least we'll see more magic-powered items. So all this magic has to be powered by something, right? Whether a timer like the first Breath of the Wild game, or a magic meter like in Wind Waker or A Link to the Past. We do know that Breath of the Wild originally planned to have a magic meter of some kind during development, but was obviously scrapped. Perhaps that meter sees the light of day in the sequel. Then again, I really like the timer or charge mechanic in the first game, so I kinda hope the magic works that way again. I'm sure it'll work out either way. And now for the minuscule parts that really don't matter. Ooh, I love this section. Let's talk about the dragon golem we see briefly. At first, I think a lot of people saw this as a new boss or enemy, and that could still be the case, but I'm thinking the derpy guy is actually just a friendly golem. We can see the green-blue magic swirling through its body, acting as the muscles of the golem. Is Link controlling it with his magic, or is it moving on its own once charged with some magic? Well, I mean, at the very least, we can say it's powered by magic. Instead of making a threatening pose like it will attack, the golem looks curiously at the screen as if it's checking its surroundings. Maybe it just woke up or it's waiting on the beck and call of its master. Would be neat if Link could control it in some way, although I'm not sure if the golem can actually walk. On the golem's chest there is an insignia, one that I'm not familiar with. If anybody happens to know what this object is, please let me know, but I'm going to take some guesses. The middle object looks like a bell or even a broom. However, it could be a simplified version of a hand, with the magic lettering from Ganondorf's chamber surrounding it. Could this be the symbol of the people who built the golem? Or maybe it's the logo of a company? I give so many questions, yet so few answers. I'm sure it'll be made clear eventually. Also, based on the background, this golem is definitely somewhere on a floating island. But why? Is it a guardian-like creature, or is it a friendly assistant? At this point, I'm beating a dead golem, so let's move on. As for confirmed enemies, bokoblins and moblins have different horns now. Whee! It's a curious design change that doesn't seem to add anything gameplay-wise, unless the horns turn out to be magic-filled. I guess they just wanted to slightly change it for the sequel. That said, I do like the idea of bokoblins riding on top of stone taluses. As we can see, not one, but 2 fort taluses. By the way, this area is clearly in Hyrule Field, with Lon Lon Ranch ruins in the background. It also looks like Hyrule Castle has already risen up in the corner there, albeit hard to see clearly. It makes me wonder when and why the castle rises up. Obviously, I can't say for sure either way, but it's interesting that whenever Link gets back to the surface, the castle supposedly is still high up. So what's the point of coming back to the ground? Couldn't Link jump off a nearby island and paraglide to the castle? This really wouldn't be a problem with Revali's Gale. Speaking of the islands, where exactly are they? In this scene, we get a giant sweeping shot of the blue sky of Hyrule, except no islands. No divine beasts either, unless they're hiding, but that's irrelevant. When Link is up in the sky, however, we can pinpoint some areas in Hyrule. Well, at least one. In the final wide shot, we can see the strange mushroom-like rock formation west of Hyrule Field. So at the very least, these islands should be located in this area. Are they only around here in the Tabantha area, or do they span all of Hyrule? If the latter, why can't we see them? Are they invisible from the surface? It's very strange. We also don't see Hyrule Castle while in the sky. Shouldn't it be visible, at least from this shot? Maybe normally it would be visible, but I think Nintendo did a pretty good job of hiding it behind clouds and this building. Hyrule Castle in the sky might be one of the game's biggest mysteries. Finally, let's discuss the question on everyone's mind. Who stole Link's clothes? Not only is he naked in the hospital room, he's actually wearing new boxer briefs, which oddly enough coincides with the first game. As stated in the Creating a Champion art book, Link was brought to the Shrine of Resurrection and stripped of his clothes, replacing them with a brand new pair of Sheikah briefs. Whoever brought Link to this new area also gave him new undergarment. That's creepy, but flattering. So, who is behind this change of clothing and mechanical arm? Are they connected to the ruins of the Sky Islands? Allow me to throw out some guesses. If you remember back in my Age of Calamity deep dive video, I speculated about the possibility of the fortune teller, the one who predicted the return of Calamity Ganon from behind the scenes, playing a role. That turned out not to be the case. Still, it got me thinking about that mysterious figure and how they could have known about its return. Perhaps the fortune teller used the same kind of magic that sealed Ganondorf in the cave to predict the return of Calamity Ganon. Granted, the original person would long be dead, but perhaps the traditions and magic were passed down within the tribe for generations, leaving the fortune teller of modern time, or 100 years ago, to pass the warning to the king. Unfortunately, like I said, that was 100 years ago, so the likelihood of that person being alive is slim. Heh, loser, get on my level. Regardless, I still believe my point about a tribe waiting generations for Ganondorf's return is possible, even if unrelated to the mysterious fortune teller. They fought against and sealed the original Ganondorf using their magic, and eventually moved to the skies over Hyrule, for some reason. Maybe they were the smart ones, since they avoided Calamity Ganon's destruction. Anyway, I have 3 ideas as to who they could be. 1. Ancient Hylians. We know there are ruins sprinkled throughout Hyrule that predate the damage caused by Calamity Ganon 100 years ago. These ruins supposedly go back thousands of years to the point that no current Hyrulean history book can explain. They were the people behind the Spring of Courage, Wisdom, and Power, as well as the Forgotten Temple that houses a giant statue of the goddess Hylia. Where have I seen that statue before? I wonder. I think what the lore means by ancient Hylians could be previous games in the series that took place thousands of years before Breath of the Wild, with Skyward Sword being the earliest known entry. Some of these relics, like the giant goddess Hylia statue, might be more than just Easter eggs. Now, does this confirm Skyloft will return? I don't know about that. However, remember how we already pointed out the mushroom rock formations in the shot here? Well, based on the map, the Forgotten Temple where the goddess statue resides is within reasonable distance of this formation. If the floating islands are indeed only in this area, then there could be a strong connection with Skyloft and the ancient Hyruleans. That said, I would be surprised if Nintendo dug deep into their series lore for story material. They usually try to keep their games separated, aside from sequels and Easter eggs. But Skyward Sword is a little easier to play with since it's the beginning of the timeline and wouldn't really mess with the other games. 2. Zonai. Everyone who follows Zelda YouTubers knows about the Zonai. I can't even visit my YouTube homepage without being berated with Zonai-related videos. Fun fact, did you know Zonai is just a play on the Japanese word for mystery, Nazo? Which means I doubt the team had any intention of expounding on these ancient people. Their sole purpose was to fill Hyrule with lore. That being said, there's no saying they couldn't touch on them in the sequel. Honestly, a lot of what the lore says about the Zonai and what we've seen in these 2 teaser trailers do match. The Zonai were ancient magic wielders, strong ones at that, who lived thousands of years ago but suddenly vanished without a trace. Their disappearance is one of Hyrule's greatest mysteries. I mean, come on, it's just screaming to be revealed, right? The Zonai ruins stretch all across Hyrule, sometimes surrounding a shrine or the Spring of Courage. They even build random towers that reach the sky. Were they trying to reach the islands above? Or is their magic the reason for the floating islands? Why do I ask you so many questions? Last thing I'll mention is that they seem to have worshipped a water dragon rather than the goddess Hylia. Not sure what that means in terms of Hyrulean religion. But Pharaon, the water dragon, both in Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, were servants to the goddess Hylia. So did their worship for Pharaon extend to Hylia? And did they see it as their duty to stop Ganondorf, the reincarnation of Demise? Maybe. Either way, it'll be cool to see if the Zonai show up or if they remain a Nazo. 3. Nintendo does whatever they want. Make a new tribe, why not? It's not like we don't have enough lore as it is. But seriously, you never know with Zelda's development cycle. They could easily create a magic-wielding people out of thin air and make it work. Out of those 3 options, I honestly but begrudgingly think the Zonai are the most likely answer. Look, I don't want to give those Zelda YouTubers the satisfaction of getting something right. Wow, you're so petty. It's something I struggle with. However, I can't deny all of the lore bits I found while preparing this video. By the time we play Breath of the Wild 2, we may finally know the truth about the Zonai. And that does it for this deep dive. I hope you found more answers than questions after all this, but if you're like me, you're probably still at a loss. Who knows if what I theorized about will come true or if all of my questions will be answered. But all of this theorizing is just for fun. I don't expect the sequel to address all my complaints or answer all my questions, but that's okay. As long as the Zelda team is happy with the product they put out, and it's a fun game, I'm sure it'll be a great sequel. Following up a masterpiece in an already beloved series will be challenging, but if anybody can do it, it's the Zelda team at Nintendo. Still, I can't help but wonder where all of these puzzle pieces fit, where they belong. I mean, why are Link and Zelda exploring the dungeon? What are they searching for? Did they want the hand to help rebuild Hyrule? Why did the castle rise up? Why is Link free-falling? Why is he naked? I have to know. I have often dreamed of a new Zelda game where the Hyrule Kingdom can live in peace. But then Ganondorf hydrates and Zelda disappears, and a voice keeps saying, "Here we go again." I am on my way. I will save the princess. I have a new arm filled with magic strong. I don't care how far. I will search the stars till I find my hero's welcome right where I belong. Wait, did the music stop? Well, that made this more awkward than it needed to be. Thank you so much for watching! Are you as excited for the sequel to Breath of the Wild as I am? Did you learn anything new in this deep dive? Have you your own theories? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked what you saw and don't mind my cringe singing, consider subscribing for more Zelda and Nintendo goodness. Promise the singing is not normal, I've only done it like twice. See you guys next time. Goodbye, you good people!